I still remember the exact moment I realized they had forgotten. It was March 15, 2022, and I was sitting in my college dorm room at 11:47 p.m., staring at my phone screen that remained stubbornly silent. No missed calls, no text messages, no social media notifications. Nothing. Earlier that day, I had woken up with that familiar birthday excitement bubbling in my chest. You know the feeling, that childlike anticipation that never really goes away, no matter how old you get. I was turning 21, a milestone birthday that I had been looking forward to for months. I had even hinted about it to my parents during our Sunday call the week before, mentioning how excited I was about next Tuesday. But Tuesday came and went like any other day. My roommate Sarah wished me happy birthday after I casually mentioned it was my special day. A few classmates who had seen it on Facebook offered their congratulations. But from my family, radio silence. I kept checking my phone throughout the day, making excuses in my head. They're probably planning something special, I told myself. Dad's probably stuck in meetings, and Mom's always been terrible with dates. But as the hours ticked by, that warm anticipation slowly transformed into a cold knot in my stomach. At dinner, I called home. My mom answered cheerfully, asking about my classes and whether I was eating enough vegetables. We talked for 20 minutes about everything except the obvious. When I finally hung up, I sat in stunned silence. How could she not remember? How could none of them remember? But here's the thing that really cut deep. Just 2 months earlier, when my younger sister Emma turned 19, our family group chat had been buzzing with birthday wishes starting at midnight. Dad had sent a heartfelt paragraph about how proud he was of her. Mom had posted a photo collage on Facebook with the caption, "My beautiful daughter is 19 today." They had even coordinated to send her a surprise care package filled with her favorite snacks and a new designer purse she had been wanting. I scrolled through those messages again that night, comparing them to the deafening silence of my own birthday. The contrast was stark and painful. It wasn't just that they had forgotten, it was that they had remembered hers so perfectly, so lovingly, just weeks before. The next morning, Mom called me in a panic. "Oh honey, I'm so sorry. I just realized, yesterday was your birthday, wasn't it? I don't know how it slipped my mind. Your father and I have been so busy with work, and Emma's been having some issues with her boyfriend that we've been helping her through." The excuses came tumbling out, but they couldn't fill the hollow space that had opened up in my chest. I told her it was okay, that I understood. But it wasn't okay, and I didn't understand. How do you forget your own child's 21st birthday? How do you remember to post on social media about your other child's achievements but forget to even send a text to wish your firstborn happy birthday? That night, I made a decision. I would pay attention next year. I would see if this was just a fluke, a one-time mistake in an otherwise loving family dynamic. After all, everyone makes mistakes, right? Surely, they would never let this happen again. Little did I know, I was about to embark on a 3-year journey that would fundamentally change how I viewed my place in my family, and ultimately, how I viewed myself. March 15, 2023. I woke up that morning with cautious optimism. Surely, after last year's forgotten birthday, my family would be extra careful not to let it happen again. I had even strategically mentioned the date during our family video call the weekend before, saying something about looking forward to celebrating my 22nd next week. But as the day progressed, I felt a familiar sinking sensation. No morning texts, no calls, no acknowledgement whatsoever. I found myself in the exact same position as the year before, sitting in my apartment. I had moved off campus by then, watching the clock tick toward midnight, waiting for a recognition that never came. This time, however, I was more prepared. I had been documenting things throughout the year, not consciously at first, but I had started noticing patterns. When Emma got into her dream internship program, our family group chat exploded with congratulations. When she posted photos from her spring break trip, Mom commented on every single one. When she mentioned feeling stressed about finals, Dad immediately offered to hire her a tutor. Meanwhile, when I had made Dean's list the previous semester, I had to bring it up myself during a family dinner. When I got my first job interview for a summer internship, I shared the news enthusiastically, only to have the conversation quickly shift to Emma's upcoming sorority formal. But birthdays, I had convinced myself, were different. Birthdays were sacred family occasions. There was no way they would forget again. Except they did. This time, I decided to conduct a little experiment. I didn't mention it was my birthday to anyone. I didn't post about it on social media. I wanted to see if they would remember on their own, without any prompting from me. The day passed in complete silence from my family. But what made it even more painful was what happened exactly 2 months later. On May 15th, Emma's 20th birthday, I watched the family group chat light up like a Christmas tree. The messages started at 12:01 a.m. Dad, happy 20th birthday to our incredible daughter. Can't believe how fast you've grown up. Mom, happy birthday, sweetheart. Call us when you wake up. We have a surprise planned. Even my aunt, uncle, and grandmother joined in with their birthday wishes. By 10 a.m., Mom had already posted a lengthy Facebook tribute with photos spanning Emma's entire life. By noon, they had sent her flowers, a birthday cake, and gift cards to her favorite stores. I screenshotted everything. Not out of malice, but out of a desperate need to validate what I was experiencing. I felt like I was going crazy, like maybe I was being overly sensitive or imagining things. But the evidence was right there in black and white. The phone call came 2 days later. Mom, again with the profuse apologies and explanations. Work has been absolutely insane, she said. Your father got that promotion, and the transition has been so stressful. And Emma's been going through some personal stuff that's had us worried sick. I feel terrible that we missed your day again. Again, I accepted the apology gracefully. But this time, I couldn't shake the feeling that these weren't just innocent mistakes. There was something deeper happening here, something that spoke to how my family saw me, or rather, how they didn't see me. I started therapy that summer. Not specifically because of the birthday issue, but because I was feeling increasingly disconnected from my family and couldn't understand why. Dr. Martinez, my therapist, helped me recognize that I had been minimizing my own feelings and making excuses for behavior that was genuinely hurtful. Patterns tell us more than individual incidents, she told me during one session. When someone consistently prioritizes one person's needs and milestones over another's, that's not an accident. That's a choice. As my 23rd birthday approached in 2024, I found myself dreading it rather than anticipating it. The excited little kid who used to count down the days to their special day had been replaced by someone who just wanted March 15th to pass by as quickly and painlessly as possible. But deep down, I still held onto a small thread of hope. Maybe this year would be different. Maybe they had learned from their mistakes. Maybe this would be the year they proved that I mattered to them just as much as Emma did. March 15th, 2024. My 23rd birthday. The day that would finally shatter whatever illusions I had left about my place in my family's hierarchy of importance. I had spent the week leading up to it in a state of anxious anticipation. This year, I had decided to take a different approach. Instead of dropping subtle hints or hoping they would remember on their own, I had directly mentioned my upcoming birthday during our family video call on March 10th. So, my birthday is this Friday, I had said, trying to sound casual but making sure the information was crystal clear. Oh, that's right. Mom had responded. 23, wow. We should definitely plan something special. Dad had nodded in agreement. Let's make sure to call you on Friday, kiddo. Even Emma had chimed in. I can't believe you're getting so old. I'll definitely call you. For the first time in 2 years, I felt genuinely optimistic. They had acknowledged it. They had made promises. Surely, this year would be different. Friday morning arrived, and I woke up feeling lighter than I had on my birthday in years. I got dressed, grabbed coffee with my roommate, and went about my day with a smile. Every time my phone buzzed, I expected to see a message from my family. But the buzzes were from friends, professors, and acquaintances. The silence from my family was deafening. By evening, I was spiraling. How could they forget again after explicitly acknowledging it just 5 days earlier? How could they promise to call and then not? At 10 p.m., I broke down and called my mom. "Hi, honey," she answered cheerfully. "How was your day?" "It was my birthday," I said quietly. The silence that followed was deafening. I could practically hear her mind racing, trying to process what I had just said. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot. We've been so busy with..." "With what?" I interrupted, something in me finally snapping. "Busy with what, Mom? Because I specifically told you about this on Sunday. You promised to call. Dad promised to call. Emma promised to call. And none of you did." "Honey, I know. There's no excuse. Emma's been having some drama with her roommate, and your father's been working late every night on this big project, and I've been helping coordinate Emma's summer study abroad program." There it was again. Emma. Every excuse, every explanation, every reason for their neglect somehow circled back to my sister and her needs, her problems, her opportunities. "Do you want to know what I realized today?" I said, my voice shaking. "This is the 3rd year in a row you've forgotten my birthday. 3 years. But you've never once forgotten Emma's. Not once." "That's not true," Mom protested, but her voice lacked conviction. "It is true. And I can prove it because I've been keeping track. Every year, you forget mine and remember hers perfectly. You plan ahead for hers. You coordinate with the whole family for hers. You post on social media about hers. But mine doesn't even register as important enough to put on your calendar." The conversation that followed was painful and raw. Mom cried, Dad got on the phone and apologized profusely, and Emma sent me a long text filled with heart emojis and promises to make it up to me. But their words felt hollow now. How do you apologize for 3 years of systematic neglect? How do you make up for making someone feel invisible in their own family? That night, I made a decision that would change everything. I was done hoping they would change. I was done making excuses for their behavior. I was done pretending that being forgotten didn't hurt. I decided that if they couldn't remember my birthday, then I would make sure they could never forget it again. But my plan wasn't about revenge or causing drama. It was about something much more powerful, creating a birthday experience so meaningful and joyful that it would make their absence irrelevant. I was going to learn to celebrate myself with the same enthusiasm and love that I had always hoped to receive from them. The next morning, I started planning the most incredible 24th birthday celebration anyone had ever seen. But this time, I wasn't waiting for my family to make it special. I was going to do it myself. The moment I decided to stop waiting for my family's validation and start celebrating myself, something fundamental shifted inside me. It was like I had been holding my breath for 3 years, and I could finally exhale. I spent the 11 months between my 23rd and 24th birthdays completely reimagining what it meant to celebrate myself. Instead of hoping for external recognition, I began creating internal joy. Instead of waiting for others to make me feel special, I started making myself feel special every single day. The change didn't happen overnight. It started small, treating myself to my favorite coffee on random Wednesday mornings, buying myself flowers just because I wanted them, celebrating small victories like acing an exam or finishing a difficult project at work. I began to understand that celebration wasn't something that required other people's participation. It was something I could create for myself. I also started paying attention to the friends who did remember my birthday, who did celebrate my achievements, who did make me feel seen and valued. Sarah, my roommate, had never once forgotten my birthday. My coworker Jake always remembered to ask how my family was doing. My friend Lisa from high school still sent me encouraging texts during finals week, even though we lived in different states. I had been so focused on the love I wasn't receiving from my family that I had failed to fully appreciate the love I was receiving from my chosen family. The friends who had consistently shown up for me in ways my biological family never had. As March 15, 2025 approached, I felt different. Not anxious, not hopeful, not dreading. Just different. I had planned an incredible day for myself, completely independent of whether my family remembered or not. I had booked a spa day, made reservations at my favorite restaurant, planned a movie night with friends, and even bought myself a beautiful piece of jewelry I had been wanting for months. For the first time in years, I was genuinely excited about my birthday. Not because I expected anything from my family, but because I had created something beautiful for myself. But then, something unexpected happened. 3 days before my birthday, Emma called me. This was unusual. We typically only talked during family video calls or when she needed help with something. "Hey," she said, her voice sounding different somehow. "Can we talk? Like, really talk?" She went on to tell me something that completely blindsided me. She had been aware of the birthday pattern for years. She had noticed that my birthdays were forgotten while hers were celebrated. She had felt guilty about it but hadn't known how to bring it up without making things awkward. "I kept thinking you didn't care as much about birthdays as I did," she admitted. "Because you never seemed upset about it. You always just said it was fine when they forgot. I thought maybe you preferred it that way." I realized that my tendency to minimize my own hurt, to always say, "it's okay," when it wasn't okay, had been misinterpreted as indifference. My family genuinely thought I didn't care about birthdays because I had never clearly communicated how much their forgetfulness was hurting me. "But last year," Emma continued, "when you finally got angry on that phone call with Mom, I realized how much pain you've been hiding. I felt terrible that I had been benefiting from this inequality without even recognizing it." She told me that she had been working on our parents for months, helping them understand the impact of their pattern and encouraging them to be more mindful of both of us equally. She had even put my birthday in their phones with multiple reminders. "I know it shouldn't have taken me this long to speak up," she said. "I know you shouldn't have had to suffer in silence for 3 years. But I wanted you to know that I see you now. I see how hard you've been trying to be the easy child, and I see how much that's cost you." This conversation changed everything. Not because it fixed the past, but because it offered hope for the future. For the first time, I felt like I had an ally in my family, someone who understood and was actively working to change the dynamic. March 15, 2025, my 24th birthday, dawned bright and beautiful. I woke up feeling a sense of peace I hadn't experienced on my birthday in years. Win or lose, remember or forget, I knew this day would be special because I had made it special. At exactly 12:01 a.m., my phone had buzzed with a text from Emma. "Happy birthday to the best big sibling in the world. Get ready for the most amazing day ever." But the real surprise came at 6:30 a.m. when my phone started ringing. It was a video call from my entire family. Mom, Dad, and Emma, all gathered around their kitchen table with a homemade birthday cake and party hats. "Happy birthday," they sang in unison, completely off-key but with genuine enthusiasm. "We wanted to be the first to celebrate you today," Mom said, her eyes bright with tears. "We have so much to make up for." Dad held up a thick envelope. "We've been working on something special for you. Not just for today, but to show you how much you mean to us." Inside the envelope was a photo album they had created together. Not just of me, but of our entire family, with special focus on moments that celebrated my achievements, my milestones, my importance in their lives. There were photos I had never seen before, ticket stubs from events I had forgotten about, and handwritten notes from each family member expressing their love and appreciation for me. But the most meaningful part was the letter they had written together. A heartfelt apology that acknowledged the pattern, took responsibility for their actions, and outlined specific changes they were committing to make going forward. "We realized that we had been taking you for granted," Dad said. "You've always been so independent, so understanding, so willing to forgive our mistakes. We mistook your strength for not needing us, but everyone needs to feel celebrated and valued." Emma added, "We've set up a family calendar with everyone's important dates. We've planned monthly one-on-one time with each of you. And we've committed to being more intentional about celebrating your achievements, not just acknowledging them." As the day progressed, the changes were evident. I received thoughtful messages from extended family members who had been contacted by my parents. My social media was flooded with birthday wishes from family friends who had been reminded to reach out. My parents had coordinated with my friends to ensure I felt celebrated all day long. But here's what truly amazed me. The external celebration, while wonderful, didn't feel as essential as I had once thought it would. The work I had done over the past year to learn to celebrate myself had genuinely changed my relationship with validation. I appreciated my family's efforts, but I no longer needed them to feel complete. The most beautiful moment of the day came that evening when I was having dinner with my chosen family. Sarah, Jake, Lisa, and a few other close friends. As we raised our glasses in a toast, I realized that I had spent 3 years focused on the love I wasn't receiving instead of fully appreciating the love I was receiving. You know what's funny? I said to my friends. I used to think that having your family forget your birthday was the worst thing that could happen. But it turns out, it was exactly what I needed to learn how to celebrate myself and recognize the people who truly see and value me. That night, as I reflected on the day, I realized that my forgotten birthdays had been a gift in disguise. They had forced me to develop self-worth that wasn't dependent on external validation. They had taught me to create joy for myself rather than waiting for others to create it for me. They had shown me the difference between people who celebrate me and people who take me for granted. Most importantly, they had led me to understand that the most unforgettable birthday isn't one that others remember. It's one where you remember how valuable you are, with or without anyone else's recognition. My family will never forget my birthday again. But even if they did, it wouldn't devastate me the way it once did. Because I've learned the most important lesson of all. The most meaningful celebration comes from within, and the most unforgettable birthdays are the ones where you refuse to forget your own worth. The little kid who used to count down the days to their birthday with desperate hope has grown into someone who celebrates themselves every single day. And that transformation. That's the real gift that 3 forgotten birthdays gave me.